Good morning, everyone. John471 here to discuss the S&P 500. Today is Thursday, June 12th, 2025. Allow me to read our disclaimer. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. Today at 8:30, our 8:30 news drivers will be initial jobless claims and PPI. Two fairly significant numbers, not as big as CPI yesterday, but significant data points at 8:30. We also have Schnabel, ECB speaker, at 8:20. And moving on, we have the several announcements out of the Treasury. These are becoming more important. Another ECB speaker at 10:15 Eastern. And then we also have a 30-year bond auction at 1 for $22 billion. As we've been kind of mentioning at Convergent, these bond auctions, especially long bond auctions, are becoming more important. They're becoming something, as an index trader, you never would pay attention to auctions. Even as an interest rate trader years ago, auctions were important, but they weren't huge unless there was something going on. Now auctions are becoming a little bit more important. But anyway, that's where we find ourselves this morning. We have significant data at 8:30, not as much as yesterday, but we have something. Let's move on to our charts. Okay, here's a chart of the S&P 500, full session daily bars. What do we... Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to have my camera over there. Whoops. Okay, so anyway, full session daily bars, chart of the S&P 500. And what are we seeing here? What's the kind of storyline that we've been following? Well, as since we've attained this 5821 MCV this area right here, since it's went bid, we sort of balanced out a little bit and then kind of commenced a really choppy, grindy trend higher. We were looking for the 60-30s. We got it. 60-50s were the next target. Got those as well. And now we are back into this neighborhood that I'm drawing a square around right now, which this is the nice neighborhood for the S&P 500. This is this is like the bad neighborhood down here, like just the bad neighborhood. This is the nice neighborhood where the all-time high is. The all-time high is the nicest house in the block up here, and we're trying to push into it. Whether or not we can maintain the lifestyle in this neighborhood, we're not sure yet, but we'll find out. But that's basically the idea. Is we're now seeing if we're going to hold this area, this distribution. If so, work up and potentially take the targets here, with the all-time high being the ultimate target in this area after the MCV in this area. But anyway, that's what we got. That's where we're pushing on a higher time frame. Zooming in a bit, what we see here's this kind of choppy, sort of grindy uptrend, just kind of like a beach ball. We refer to this as being like a beach ball that just can't be held underwater. Like it pops up, try to push it under the water, it pops up, try to push it under the water, and it pops up, try to push it under the water. And what's going to happen here? So now we have started to take these lows, however, so we are starting to look a bit more balancy, but for me, I really need to see us make a real attempt at the high and fail to get it, or see us really start to extend lower for me to believe that the buyers have lost control. And with action like this, we can get pulled down pretty far and still snap back because it's so, sort of so mushy in here. But regardless, on a real break lower, the key target to be hit, if we actually do start to break lower, will be this MCV This is the 5916 area. And so for sellers to really do anything, they need to get to about here at least. Anything above here is going to be on a higher time frame, just a pullback for me. Let's go to a smaller time frame chart and discuss this more specifically. Okay, here's our market profile chart of the S&P. This is RTH, regular trading hours only. And what we've been talking about here is the one time framing, which is still in effect in RTH. We've broken it overnight. As you can see, this is the current overnight low. So we have taken these lows overnight. But in terms of the RTH session, we are still been moving value higher. We have moved value higher here. However, we notice that we closed lower. This is the first time that we've closed lower since this day. So that's just a little bit of a hint that maybe we're starting to find a bit of the opposing force here. But until we really, for me, so looking at this, still during the RTH session, this is going to be a very important area here to see what we do. Yesterday's lows, we have a decent excess on this profile, but we've already reclaimed it. So the big thing for me during RTH initially, depending on where we begin, is going to be yesterday's low. Do we stay on one side or the other, or do we chop around it? If we hold it, then we'll be looking for the prior settle. If we're able to hold the prior settle, then we're looking for the prior VPOC up here. But if we do not hold this area, or if we immediately push lower from it, we'll be looking for this low and this naked VPOC. This naked VPOC in the 70s corresponds with the NFP SOC, making this a target. Let's move on to a smaller time frame chart and plan more specifically. Okay, here we are on our intraday chart of the S&P 500. What areas are interesting here? Well, okay, let's go over it. Yesterday, we see what happened overnight. We got our CPI number around this area and ripped higher. During RTH, however, we could not retest that high, and instead we see this distribution, which is resistance. So we've now seen resistance pop up right here, where there were a lot of people that were willing to sell on this push. And we have started to revert lower. And as I mentioned yesterday, overnight we have taken the low already. So for me on this time frame, the intraday time frame, this area is really important. The yesterday's VPOC, and it corresponds with the 60-50 level, key level. This is the area that buyers need to reclaim. If they are to prove that they are still in control, they need to reclaim this area and take out these highs. Or if sellers show that they control this area, then we're at least tipping over into balance, if not potentially lower prices. So here's our non-farm SOC, those 70s. This is the key area to be tested on if we fail lower. Let's go over some ideas. First, we'll begin with bearish ideas. The bearish ideas, we have this distribution here, so we'll go over two main bearish ideas. The first one is if we get an immediate rejection of the prior day's range, depending on where we open. Maybe we push up and try to open a little higher, but regardless, if we open and we are just unable to really reclaim this range and start and fall back out of range, I'm looking for first the overnight low. And then if we still continue through that, I'm looking for these 70s, as I just said, our key target 70s below here. Now, here's the thing. The 70s are a key place where we could just lick check and move higher. That's a possibility. Like if we push down, just test them, boom, we could lick check and start to push higher. And if that happens and we get back into range, then the environment changes. I think this is something that easily could happen. We could easily test this area and then just pop higher and maybe regain range, maybe not. But regardless, this is the key idea that I'm talking about. Regardless of how this happens, if we do find support here and get back into range, then we're back into either balance or potentially higher prices. But if we don't, if we lose this area and we keep working, I'm going to go zone to zone looking for the mid-century figure. This would be my key target today. This is already 2 vola down, so this would be a pretty good distance here. But if we keep working, I just go zone to zone, and obviously the 16s, I mentioned them, they're the big target if we really have started to revert here, which we may or may not have done. How could this happen with a pullback into range? It could happen with, this could start to sell off or push lower at any point below the 50s, in my opinion. So that means if we push back up into range, could it be bullish? It certainly could, but until we get through the 50s, this to me will be liable to revert lower into either balance or lower prices. Let's go over our bullish ideas, which you guessed it, they're the exact opposite in many ways. So bullish ideas could happen. Again, like I said, for me to really see a structural bullish move, meaning expecting the high to get taken, we got to get through these 50s. So any longs from here would be, for me, targeting the 50s. They'd be targeting 31s and 50s because I would be anticipating potential resistance in this area. But regardless, how could the long happen? Well, we could easily, the opening bell could ring and we could just revert back into range as soon as the bell rings and just push right up to this area. Don't be shocked if exactly that happens. We just open and push right down to here and this test below yesterday's low doesn't even matter. Now that could happen and we could just stall out here and then we could see bearish action start to happen. Or, like I just said, if we get traction through this area and really show that we're willing to trade up here, then I will look for the highs. Beyond the highs, there's plenty of targets up here. I'll just go zone to zone with the century figure as the big key target. So basically, just to tie it in a bow for you right now, I'll show you that the key areas are going to be yesterday's low and yesterday's VPOC. If we are messing around in the middle of this, it's pretty non-denominational. If we hold above it, I'm looking for the high. If we push below it, I am looking for the overnight low and then the 70s. Messing around in here, it's nothing. And push like any type of a test lower and reversion, I would expect to get back to those areas. But that's really what I'm seeing today. I'm seeing yesterday's low is very important. I'm seeing yesterday's VPOC is very important. We have a key LVN. If we just hang out in the middle and fill in this LVN, then it's an outside in trade. Or if we test and revert from either of these areas, it's an outside in trade. But if we get outside of these areas and start to work, we know our targets right here and also the SOC. That's what I got for you. Hopefully this is complete. Gotten this down to 12 minutes. My dad will be happy about that. He's very into how long this takes every day, encouraging me to be efficient. But anyway, I hope that this is helpful to you. I hope it provides some utility. I hope you're having a great morning today. I hope your great morning continues. Most importantly, I hope you find some way to improve your trading today that is not dependent upon your P&L. That's what I got for you. Ciao.